It's closer and closer. We're talking obviously about the Super Bowl. I don't know the exact countdown. I'm sure they have it on Times Square or someplace, or in San Francisco on a clock somewhere of how many. Oh, I think if you go to the NFL site,
they probably do, yes.
Frank Schwab has joined us, and we're so excited that he's agreed to come back and be with us. Yahoo Sports, he is one of the, I'm going to say it, the premier NFL writer. And you write a bunch of different columns and things for Yahoo Sports.
Especially this week. It's getting busy.
A background of covering the Broncos
yes.
from Colorado Springs, and this is your base.
Yep, live right down the street. Yep.
And so he's going to join us for the next hour on the Sports Show. I'm Woody Paige. It's presented by the Denver Post. We're going to spend the next hour dealing with a number of subjects, and let me get right into the big stuff. Cam Newton, the man, the myth, the legend. The free agents of the Denver Broncos, which ones do you think they're going to bring back? Number 3, could the Panthers care less? And do they understand grammar in the English language? We'll get into that. And 4, the Rockies have made a trade. And unlike other talk shows and the news at night, I'm going to tell you exactly who it is off the top. They always say, when we come back,
tease it, yes.
And you as a journalist, I mean, you've been a journalist your whole life. Mm-hmm. I hate that. I mean, we don't go, here's my story, but 8 graphs in, I'm going to tell you what the story's about. The Rockies have traded Corey Dickerson for left-handed relief pitcher Jake McGee, who's 29 years old, made $4.8 million last year. Corey still under minor league type contracts in the hundreds of thousands, and was it enough? And did the Rockies do the right thing of trading the guy who was my boy last year in training camp that I wrote about, that he was going to be the next big thing for the Colorado Rockies 2 years ago? Let's start off the show with Frank and this question, which is taking over the internet.
It's going to yes, I know.
I would think there would be 2 stories at the Super Bowl. There was already Cam Newton, the young, great quarterback, MVP this year, guy that's won a state championship in high school, a national championship in junior college level, national championship with Auburn, Heisman Trophy, going to be the MVP this year and could win an NFL championship. That resume for a
no
guy
quarterback's ever done it. That'd be the only one. Yeah, he's the only one.
So, but that's now become sort of a sub-story to Cam Newton coming out and saying, I think people are afraid of me because I'm an African-American quarterback. I think they're afraid of me because there's not anybody, I think he used the word incomparable.
Something like that,
But people are saying incomparable. There's nobody to compare him to. So was that the right thing for him to do? Mm-hmm. Do you think, I'm going to give you like a 3-parter. Okay. Do you think people are scared of him because he's African-American and because he's maybe bigger than life? And when I say that, he's built like a linebacker. He runs like a wide receiver.
Bigger than a linebacker.
And throws like John Elway.
It's unbelievable.
But was this the right thing for him to do, and was it calculated?
That's the thing. We were talking a little bit off air about that. I don't know if it was calculated, but I think Cam Newton understands what he said, and he's fine with the pressure. He's just that kind of guy. Things roll off of him. He's fine taking on this role of being, hey, I'm going to speak out about this. He deals with a lot of racism. I'm sure he does, and I have no problem with him addressing it. I think that was fine in that forum. He gets the conversation going. There's been a lot of conversation on the internet. I wrote about this last night. The post I wrote has 5,000 comments by now. A lot of people discussing this matter. And I don't think he's wrong necessarily. A lot of the emails I got yesterday, a lot of them are very veiled, a lot of code words about Cam Newton.
Can you give me an example that we can talk about, that, because I'm trying to get a feel for this. What sort of, are we talking about an obscene word that refers to African Americans? Are we talking about, you said veil, that
something I heard a lot of was he just needs to shut up and play. He shouldn't be. Basically, he should be seen and not heard.
So is that racism?
I don't know. You can argue different ways. I'm not saying for sure, but it just seems like that. We've heard this a lot of times about guys like him. So it's possible. It's hard to quantify how much his race plays into this, but a lot of people dislike Cam Newton. A lot of people, about 70-30 of about those emails of people who really dislike Cam Newton and sounded off on him. And I don't know why he draws this kind of reaction.
Because he wears number 1, he's a great quarterback. John Elway, let me respond to some of those things.
Sure.
John Elway said earlier in the week before he left for the Senior Bowl, and you may have heard and been there for it, that he gave me the impression that if there had anybody that came along that resembled John Elway, it would be Cam Newton. Strong-armed, great athlete. I always referred to John Elway as the best athlete in football playing quarterback.
That's interesting.
He was not a quarterback like Dan Marino or Joe Montana, who were quarterbacks.
Correct.
John Elway was an athlete playing quarterback. I think he's the same way. Cam Newton is as close to John Elway, and John Elway said, and he rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Which
Well,
John did,
Elway
yes.
did by not going
Go
to
to
Baltimore, by threatening to play baseball, by, okay, you were the golden hair boy, and he threw a lot of interceptions early. He was not successful, had 3 Super Bowls that he lost. So John Elway almost seems to be identifying. We haven't heard Cam Newton compare himself, and he says he can't be compared to anybody. Well, he could be compared to John Elway.
That's a really good comparison. I hadn't thought of that one.
I would add to it that I think I'm a little naive here because I got over looking at quarterbacks as black quarterbacks.
Yes, we should be beyond this. I agree.
Since Doug Williams became the first African American to win a Super Bowl for Washington against the Broncos, and was asked during the week, Frank, when did you first become a black quarterback? I think the guy was trying to say, when did you become a quarterback? But he said,
right.
I was white for the first 18 years. But I would say this, that Russell Wilson was an African-American quarterback in the last 2 Super Bowls, so I thought we were all past having definitions. But I will say this, when I wrote about Demaryius Thomas and his mother 3 weeks ago, and I thought it was a heartwarming story that she was finally getting to go to the game, I was amazed at how many negative responses I got of, oh, here's another story, a mother goes to jail, drugs involving poor white people and black people. And I wrote back and I said, really? I mean, that's what I wrote back to people. So it's amazing that continues to go along. As the Broncos have reconvened for practice yesterday, I want to save that question.
Okay.
Because that's, is it okay if I save it? I'm going to save that. This segment brought, because I want to spend a little bit more time.
It's going to be interesting.
We're running out of time for this segment. Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village is Colorado's #1 volume Lexus dealer, conveniently located at I-25 in Bellevue. Please go out and stand under the waterfall, because Greg Stone loves it. He is the owner of Cooney Lexus. He's a good friend of mine. We play golf and hang out together, and he loves his waterfall. So go in and say, oh, what a great waterfall. There's no waterfall in another dealership, but here's the main reason. Lexus is great. Cooney Lexus is great. It's Colorado's #1 volume Lexus dealership, Greenwood Village, I-25 in Bellevue.
Hello, my name is Greg Stone, President and General Manager, and I would like to personally thank you for making Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village the #1 Lexus dealer in Colorado.
Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village for exceptional customer service and world-class amenities. Take in the beauty of the Rocky Mountains from our rooftop patio. Relax while enjoying a movie in our premium theater. This is the ultimate luxury car buying experience. Visit Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village or Cooney Lexus of Colorado Springs. Click CooneyLexus.com.
Question I wanted to address with you, Frank.
Sure.
Frank Schwab's with us on the sports show. I'm not important. The Broncos have gotten back to practice. The coaches spent 3 or 4 days putting together a game plan. Coaches learned a long time ago, you put your game plan together during the bye week, you practice hard during the bye week, and then you refine and polish. You don't wait till you get to the Super Bowl site to actually start putting in game plans, because that was a flaw. And I thought that was the reason why a lot of the early Super Bowls weren't very good. Guys were saying, oh, we're going to take this week off. We're going to work hard next week. It tends to be, let's get our work done.
There's
and
nothing
deal with
about
stuff
it. There's not a regular week.
What do you think is going to be, we talked about Cam Newton, what is going to be different about the way the Broncos prepare for Carolina than they did for New England?
You know, I think it's really interesting in that Denver didn't blitz much against New England. Barely at all. I read something where it was the fewest times Wade Phillips' defense has blitzed in years and years. I think it's totally different against Carolina. They're a protection-based offense, which means they're only sending a few guys out. I think that Wade Phillips believes that Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, Bradley Roby can win those one-on-one battles against those receivers. so he can send the house against Cam Newton, who's a tough guy to bring down, and fill up those lanes so Cam Newton can't get out of the pocket, can't escape and make something happen with his feet. I think defensively that's the biggest difference. I think it's going to be a lot more pressure. As far as blitzing goes, they got a lot of pressure four-man.
Do you have a spy in that? Do you have Brandon Marshall's spy on Cam?
Could definitely have a spy, but Cam has kind of evolved. He's more of a pocket guy now. He's not a Russell Wilson who'll take off right away. He'll exhaust the play in the pocket. So I don't think you necessarily have to worry too much about him just taking off. He'll do it once in a while, but yes, you could definitely spy on him. Not every team has, but some do.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. I never liked spy because you're giving up a player.
Yes.
You have 11 on 10, basically. In this case, you have 11 on 11, but I think that you just protect your lanes and you give up a few runs to him. I mean, I think he's...
I agree with
you. That's the way I approach it. Rimmers, who's the right tackle, is the weak link of the Carolina Panthers. I think Von Miller can have a bigger game than he did against the Patriots because Rimmers is considered one of the most mediocre right side tackles in the league, and Von Miller coming from that side kind of overload that side. If he's going to get chipped by Greg Olsen or tight end on that side, that you put a little bit more pressure coming from what would be the left side of the Broncos defense.
I think that's a great point, and I think that, you know, when you do put so much focus on Von Miller, every Broncos fan knows it's not just Von Miller. It's DeMarcus Ware on the other side. It's the guys up the middle, Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe. They have a lot of guys that can get to the quarterback. And Wade's going to know this, and he's going to devise some things to take advantage of the various weaknesses in the Carolina offensive line.
Now we'll go on to the question the other question I was supposed to ask is, do you have Brock or Trevor Siemian? Or do you take a linebacker and say, simulate Cam Newton? Can they really simulate? And let me add to that. The Carolina Panthers are now using partially an offense that the Broncos used with Tim Tebow. They use more read zone than anybody else in the league, and the Broncos ran it effectively 3 years ago. Can they really do a good job when they go to the read zone? Because you're reacting.
Here, by the way, in simulating Cam Newton, here's what they do. Kubiak goes to a lab. He takes Ben Roethlisberger and Eddie George, combines them into one guy, and that's your Cam Newton for your scout team. I don't see any other way to simulate him. There is nobody on their team that can. I think you're right, though, with the read option stuff. Carolina's run game goes through Cam Newton. They play to his strengths as a runner. He's 260 pounds, maybe. I don't know how you simulate that in practice. It's going to be tough.
The other point, we were talking about Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, that you have to read, it's called a read zone, because the quarterback's going to see what they're doing. So if Von and DeMarcus are coming hard, then he will take advantage of that by going inside them.
And he can slow those guys down that way, definitely. That's something they have to be worried about.
That's one of the major things you do. You slow down.
Completely opposite against the Patriots, where they were spreading it out and going basically just the offensive line. There was no help there. There's nothing to slow down Von Miller at that point.
And one of the effective things that they were doing against the Patriots, they were dropping those two guys. They got an interception out of it by Von Miller because Tom Brady wasn't expecting those guys to be in pass coverage, and we don't ever think about DeMarcus Ware or Von Miller being pass coverage guys.
A great staff from our friend Greg Cosell at NFL Films. The Broncos rushed 3 guys all season 14 times. They did it 14 times against the Patriots.
The day after every Broncos win, so your next opportunity would be the day after the Super Bowl. If they were able to win, you'll get 50% off the regular menu price on your online orders. So you can think about your post-celebration of the Broncos on the Monday after the Super Bowl. That night, gather your friends together, go to Papa John's website and put in the promo code Broncos, and you'll get your pizzas for half price at the new papajohns.com.
For our Players' Choice pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one, I can work out like one, I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At the new papajohns.com.
Frank Schwab is with us from yahoosports.com, and go to his, and what's the
Shutdown Corner is the blog. I'm the editor of that, yes.
And that's what the Broncos are hoping for also. And so read his stuff. He's a great writer. He's a great researcher, and he'll be there writing all week. And tell them your Twitter handle also. So.
At Yahoo Schwab.
Yeah.
SCHWAB.
So follow him, and I'll retweet your stuff out because I got a few followers too. Yes or no on these unrestricted free agents, and just you can give a short answer.
It's a
and
tough
I'm
list,
gonna
Woody.
respond.
I've seen it.
Okay, so here are the Broncos. They're actually 16, but we're not going to cover a couple of guys that really are on practice squad. Brock Osweiler.
I think you have to. You need a quarterback in this day and age. The question's going to be, how much does Brock Osweiler get on the open market? Does it go crazy because so few quarterbacks hit the open market that he prices himself out? But I think at any reasonable cost, they have to.
Okay, give me an over and under number, because I think that's what's going to turn. Let's say that Houston, Texas,
great
come along, $10 million a year, 5 years, $50 million.
I think you absolutely have to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
so San Francisco 49ers get rid of Kaepernick.
Sure.
And they decide they want Brock Osweiler. And they say, okay, we're going to give you a $100 million contract for 5 years.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't think at that point you do. You're right. There's a tipping point, and I don't know what it is exactly. It's going to be interesting to see his market because we're still dealing with a small sample size with him.
I think Brock, here's what Peyton Manning does all the Broncos. You talked about before we went on there. Would he go at the Super Bowl and say, "This is my last game"? Don't see him doing that.
No,
I think he's going to take a little bit of time off. But if you're Brock Osweiler, don't you say, I want to know that he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a hometown discount. I will take $10 million a year for 5 years or 4 years.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think the fact that they benched him before the playoffs sticks in his mind as a negative when he's thinking about re-signing with the Broncos?
No.
Okay.
And I know that's because there's been a lot of talk about, I mean, people are writing me saying, well, you've forgotten about Brock Osweiler. Well, we tended to forget when Bob Greasy came back and played in the playoffs and the Dolphins ended up finishing an undefeated season. I think Brock, and I know him pretty well, he's a grounded young man. I think that he appreciates he had that opportunity because A, he got to show everybody what he could do.
Yep, sure did.
And B, for the first time in their relationship, Peyton Manning became a real mentor. Now, in the rooms, yeah, he would point out stuff, but Peyton never dealt with Curtis Painter like this. He never dealt with his backups, but he became a helpmate to Brock Osweiler. So I think that Brock will go, yeah, I like playing for Kubiak. Kubiak was good to me.
Okay.
That he
I can see
explained
that.
to me the situation, and yeah, I want to come back here. And John Elway is my guy because I was his son's roommate in college, and John went out on him, chose me in the second round. I think he comes back. Von Miller.
Have to. If franchise, if nothing else, I don't see any other way around that.
You bring him back, but you do franchise him, but
They have to. It's
he's
just
a
a
$100 million
no-brainer.
player when you do sign him. Malik Jackson.
That's the tough one. I think that they had to make a choice between him and Derek Wolfe. At some point, Woody, the money runs out. You'd love to keep everybody around. You'd love to keep Malik Jackson. I don't know that the money's there.
I hope so. I think
He's
he's
a
a
great
power
player.
force with
Yep.
Wolf inside, and there are going to be a lot of guys because you're not going to bring back DeMarcus Ware. He's
Correct.
a money ticket. Peyton Manning's going to be gone.
Yep, you'll have some room. Yep.
I mean, there are some high number guys. Evan Mathis signed a 1-year contract. Antonio's wasn't, but more than like $1 million.
Sure.
But they can gather, I think, enough money that Malik Jackson would be a priority for me. But
He should be a priority. I'm just.
has Shallow shown you enough after taking on Gronk 1-on-1 on the 2-point conversion?
I think he's done a great job. I really have. And I think it's going to come down to the next guy we're going to talk about, David Bruton. One of those guys. I think one of those guys sticks, in my mind anyway. And I think David Bruton has turned himself into a really good defensive asset as a dime linebacker.
Shallow only made $127,000, but he reported here with about 6 games to go. So
Right.
He's a low-ticket item. I think you bring him back and find out what you got there. David Bruton Jr. proved he could be a starter this year.
Yeah, I really thought he came around.
I mean,
thought
he
was
went from
really
being,
good
he finally got, whatever the number is. I mean, the number's going to be reasonable. David has charities here, does the book reading thing. He lives in Colorado. I think he wants to finish it. He wants to be one of those guys that plays 10 years, 10, 11 years. I think if they agree that we're not going to make you play on every special teams in the world, or we'll pay you extra for
Pay
playing.
a little extra, yeah, a little bonus.
Vernon Davis.
No way. No, I just
He's
cannot.
gone.
No.
They were going to make him part of the offense, and they threw it to him
Well,
once, and they went, yeah, enough of that.
After those drops, they'll
Do you
throw back.
bring back Evan Mathis?
That's interesting. I think it
$4
depends on the
million,
price.
I
Yeah, he
think,
was
this
pretty
year.
expensive. I don't know. Evan didn't have a lot of interest on the free agent market, it seems. So maybe you can get him less than that. I'm not sure. He is aging. I think he's a good player. If you can bring him back at the right price, I would, because they do need offensive linemen at some point.
Yeah.
That offensive line isn't that deep.
As we said, Antonio Smith, third down specialty player, big mouth, fun to be with.
Fun guy, yeah.
He's got his personal problems behind him. There were no charges filed against him. He was $1 million. I kind of put him in a Terrence Knighton kind of situation where I don't know that they really want to bring him back.
Yeah, probably not. But if they could, at a discount. All this is based on price when you got the salary.
Bubba Caldwell has been a good, dependable guy for 3 years now. He makes pretty good money, but he's now, that contract's over. It's about $3.5 million. Is
And
this the end of it?
I think Benny Fowler has taken his place really in the offense. So he's a really nice young up and coming player.
Yeah. And the other thing, the Broncos at the Senior Bowl are looking at wide receivers. I don't know that they've actually talked to two, and so even though I thought they would be looking at offensive linemen, I think they've got to bring in another young wide receiver. Cody Latimer has not been a great player. He wasn't what they
he showed a
expected
few
of him. And you
flashes when
mentioned
Brock, but yeah.
Fowler is a situational player. Ryan Harris.
He's interesting. I think it depends on what else your other options are. Like you said, do you draft an offensive tackle? Does that make Ryan Harris expendable? He's fine, but again, Clady's going to come back. So, and if he does at that contract, I guess. So
Tyler Columbus.
Yeah, both of those guys.
I would doubt it. Ronnie Hillman.
Interesting, running backs are so disposable in this age that I don't know that you overpay him for sure, but you could probably get him back at a reasonable price. I like what he does in this offense. I really think he fits.
Hasn't become. I really liked him in college, and I wrote a column, and John Elway said, "Well, I took a look at that, but he said that wasn't why we drafted him. He hasn't been the player I want. I thought he was going to be Adrian Peterson light."
Yeah. I really liked him out of San Diego State. He was a really talented guy, but he's a good contributor.
Yeah, Omar Bolden.
I like him. Yeah, I think he fills a role for you.
Yeah,
And I think you
you can get him at a reasonable price. Danny Trevathan.
I like him a lot. I really think he's a playmaker. Just needs to stay healthy, which he has for the most part this year. It's just health with him, but I think you do bring him back.
I'm going to throw you one that's not a free agent.
Sure.
They have a left tackle that got hurt. And you go, well,
Yes,
there are two,
brought him
but
up,
they
yeah.
got Ty Sombrero, who they think's going to be the left tackle. Ryan Clady.
That's the thing. When I said his name, I forgot that his contract is really balloons a little bit. So he's a tough one to bring. He's a great player. He's great. I really like Ryan Clady, but it would be tough. It would be tough at his price because he got so many other needs that we talked about.
I think that's one of the numbers that you can eliminate. That he's been hurt 2 out of the last 3 years. He has had injuries in his problem. He's been great at times. 2 years ago, coming off that injury, he was not great that year. So I'm not certain. They should have brought in Joe Thomas. I go back to that every time I bring it up. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, the premier men's health clinic in Colorado, and it is. My friends at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic can, in one visit, change your sex life, reclaim the fun, excitement, and intimacy of sex through a unique program that focuses on the individual patient. You'll find a comfortable, relaxing environment where you can watch this show, ESPN, the Golf Channel, and get Colorado licensed experienced medical providers. And they have a new doctor coming in right about now. These people are totally involved in getting you healthy again and getting your sexual health in the position it should be. RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com.
Is a lack of intimacy at home starting to affect your performance on the course? There are many factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol that may be contributing to your erectile dysfunction. Get back in the game with one visit to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, offering same-day solutions for all erectile dysfunction and premature issues. And you get to try the medications containing FDA ingredients right in their office. Let the providers at Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic help you get your confidence back. And be sure to ask about the $99 limited time special. Call today.
I say it every day, one of our favorite segments, Trending Now. Frank Schwab is with us from yahoosports.com. I'm Woody Paige from Parts Unknown. And who are you, sir?
My name is Hugh Johnson with the Denver Post. I'm a digital sports producer, and this is What's trending now?
Well, what is trending right now? What this
All right,
moment?
guys. Breaking news here: the Rockies have traded left fielder Corey Dickerson for some pitching. He's been traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. We have not confirmed it, but the New York Post is reporting that the Rockies have acquired left-handed reliever Jake McGee in the deal, and maybe some minor leaguers as well. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited about this trade?
Well, you kind of blew up that last part of it, but it would involve, and I think Frank would agree with me, but I won't speak for him, that's not enough.
Yeah.
2 years ago, so we're talking about another Tommy John surgery guy. 2008, so it was quite a while ago, but and most pitchers now have to have it at some point in their career.
Right.
2 years ago, he had 16 saves, so they gave him a chance to save games. And then he drifted back into being a setup man last year. He's a left-handed. I think they're trying to replace the guy that left that they thought was going to be the future closer.
Rex Brothers?
Rex Brothers, yeah. I think that's what they're trying to replace. But Corey Dickerson, to me, is Todd Helton. He is not the defensive guy that Todd Helton is, but he's a guy that's going to be a 2,000-hit guy in this league. He is a professional hitter. And I loved him. I went and watched him one morning at 6 o'clock, and he thanked me for coming. He said, "Why would you come here at 6 o'clock?" I said, "I had to be somewhere," so I came. He is a natural hitter. He had problems last year, the injury problem that Peyton Manning has. I think this is not the trade. I wanted a starting pitcher. You're going to Tampa Bay. They have a wealth of starting pitchers.
And Jake McGee's going to give you, 70 innings? I'm more than willing to just hold on to Corey Dickerson at that point. He was, when he was healthy last year, a heck of a hitter. He's really good. And basically, what's your plan if you're the Rockies? You signed Gerardo Parra just so you could trade Corey Dickerson for a setup man or maybe closer. I don't get this. I don't like it at all. Those minor leaguers you mentioned, they better be good. They better have a good prospect in there because on the surface this makes no sense.
So if we're doing the show, come interrupt us and tell us who these minor leaguers are.
Bring a scouting report.
Just run right on in.
It's got to be a #1 draft choice somewhere. There better be a shortstop in there somewhere because
they need one of those too. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Avalanche. Head coach Patrick Waugh testified in the civil suit being held against goalie Semyon Varlamov today. Guys, they're coming off a 4-win hot streak, and they're fighting for a playoff position. They're, I believe, the #1 wild card seed. Guys, how distracting is this for the team?
My immediate answer is when he was charged with threats and assault against his girlfriend, and that period of time was going on, I thought it was more of a distraction.
Right.
When he was cleared of the charges, criminal charges, so let me go back to when the charge. That's when they went to the playoffs. Right. That's how far back we're going.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't see a distraction. I think Patrick Waugh does a very good job of keeping distractions outside the locker room. We don't really. Varley's been the only one over the 3 years that I know. Orion about his issues of signing or not, but they don't really have a lot of issues. I don't think this is a distraction. I think it's a distraction on the ice because they don't have him.
Right.
Yeah, I think distractions are overrated. I don't know if you agree with that, but these guys are pros. They go about their job. Whoever you want to name on the Avalanche is still going to do his job because he wants to do it, and it hurts the guys involved, but I don't think it hurts the rest of the locker room really. Distraction
would be if the Denver Post was closing tomorrow. That would be a distraction to you and me. If someone that is a buddy of yours is fired out there, and forgive me, but they're close at hand, or me, guess what I'm concentrating on? Me.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason why I bring that up, because that's the case in sports. What I found over the years is, I'm sorry that that guy got arrested, but I'm glad it wasn't me.
All right.
So
I think he's right.
And moving on to some Super Bowl news, Carolina Panthers running back Mike Tolbert had some interesting quotes yesterday. Talking about the fact that this might be Peyton Manning's last rodeo. He said, we don't really care if it's his last game. He's played, 18, 19 years. He's had enough. You know what I'm saying? It's our turn. Obviously, he's not going to, cheer against his own team, but is this kind of disrespectful to Peyton Manning?
Yeah, I don't think he needed to say it, But I also didn't think he needed to say it the way he did, because I care about the English language, and he said, I could care less. Well, I would say, Mike, it's I couldn't care less. It's not I could care less, because if you could care less, you could care less.
Right.
But if I were the Panthers, I'd say stay away from, the old-timer, disrespecting him. I don't think it's going to have any effect on the game, or Manning suddenly is going to say, "Oh, I'm now going to play better because they."
I think the one thing that's more overrated than distractions is the bulletin board material thing. No, the Broncos are going to play hard regardless, and this is just something we can talk about for
John Madden told me, and I thought this was a great saying. He said that bulletin board stuff is really great. I'm going to kill that player. He said that really works well until the kickoff. And he said, once the kickoff happens, that all goes away.
Right.
He had some guys who put up some bulletin board material now.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you,
That's
kid.
it for me. Hi, I'm Hugh Johnson with the Denver Post. That was What's Trending Now. You can find me on Twitter at HughJohnsonDP, and thanks for joining us.
And our live guest, and I say this every day, and Hugh certainly qualifies as a live guest, appear courtesy of Papa John's. The day after every Avalanche win, we were just talking about it, get 50% off the regular menu price using the online order promo code AVS at thenewpapajohns.com.
When the Avs win, you win at Papa John's. All season long, the day after every Avs win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at papajohns.com by entering promo code AVS. That's right. Just enter promo code AVS online at papajohns.com the day after every Avs win for 50% off your entire online order.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
You don't say one.
Snuck up on you right there.
I'm pretty slow. You go 3, 2, 1. You do 1, and I thought 1 what? Cam Newton's number. I'm just kidding. Ron Rivera is considered. Frank Schwab's with us from YahooSports.com and from The World and the World of Sports and Shutdown Corner. Ron Rivera played for Mike Ditka and the 85 Bears. He has been he was the Bears assistant coach. He had a high profile. There were a lot of talk about him being a head coach. It didn't happen. He didn't interview very well. He went off to San Diego Chargers, kind of as an assistant defensive coach, and then he got the coordinator's job. Went to Carolina. Oddly enough, there was talk a year or two ago that he was going to be fired.
2 years ago, at the beginning of the 2013 season.
Kubiak, offensive guy, so forget him for the moment. Wade Phillips. 10 years of improving defensive teams. He has been brilliant this year. Co-defensive. Who has the advantage? Who is the better defensive? That's put you on the spot.
That's a great question. I think they're both really good. By the way, the Ron Rivera interview stuff, this should prove to NFL teams, don't take that interview stuff too seriously, because this guy's a coach of the year now, and they passed on him.
Broncos hired Josh McDaniels because he did PowerPoint presentation.
Maybe you just want to go with the best mind. I really, a lot of this comes down to who's got the better players, too. And Wade does. Wade has the better players of these two defenses. But I really appreciate Wade Phillips' defensive genius. I think he's a really smart guy. He plays well to his strengths. Just defensive X's and O's wise, I give Wade the edge. I think he's really one of the better coordinators in the game.
And the father of the Bears defense, help me out.
Buddy Ryan?
Buddy Ryan,
yes,
Rex
Buddy.
Ryan's father, Buddy Ryan. Both Rivera played under him.
Yeah.
Wade Phillips coached under him.
Oh, did you? I didn't remember that. Hey.
In Philadelphia.
It was in Philly, yep. Okay.
Because Buddy Ryan finally got a head coaching job, and Wade Phillips was his defensive coordinator. So I think that they know a lot about each other's philosophies based on the rooted. This is kind of like Bill Walsh at San Francisco, that Kubiak's deeply rooted in his background.
Absolutely.
So I think you're right. Wade Phillips said coming in this year, I've never been handed such a good array of defensive players. Great. I think he's got the better defense. I'll give him the edge. That's why, and I'm going to throw this in at you, 44.5 is the last I saw of the over-under. So it's going to be around 45. Would you take the over or the under on that?
I think I would take the under. I just don't see I love Carolina. I give them all the respect in the world. They're 17-1 for a reason. I can't see them scoring 30 on this Broncos defense. Can you? I think this is going to be a 17-13 type of game.
I saw a Madden simulation where they did it 50 times, and they were right on the score last year, and they actually had the Patriots winning. It was 28-24.
Okay.
So that the pick by EA, this is a computer game. Guys playing it, but they're playing with those players, and it's been picked at 20-16, Carolina.
I can see that.
And that's the number, I think. So if you do 20-16, that's 36 points. I would guess that it's going to be in the low 20s again.
I do too. And I think Cam, for as great as he is, hasn't seen a defense like this, Woody. He just hasn't.
We'll continue after news break with Molly Hughes.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom. A new drop-in center for Denver's homeless people is being touted as a big success, but surrounding neighbors say the jury is still out. The Lawrence Street Community Center opened back in November. Since then, they've served 3,300 homeless people and 75,000 meals. The center is designed to be a dignified place where homeless folks can take a shower, do laundry, eat, and regroup during the daytime. The Ballpark Neighborhood Association filed a lawsuit fearing the $8.6 million center would increase the homeless population in their neighborhood, but they lost that lawsuit. Now, with the day center open, neighbors say they are seeing fewer people on the streets during the daytime, but they've also noticed an increase in the number of homeless people camping out at night after the shelter closes at 9 p.m. Neighbors complain the Lawrence Community Center is just a temporary fix on a bigger problem. The center says it is willing to work with the neighbors' concerns as it works to help homeless people become more self-sufficient.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
Greg Schwab is with us from yahoosports.com, and we're going to do Four on the Floor, and we will keep this short, 30-second answers, and if you don't, they throw pie in your face.
Okay.
First one, who has a better overall rushing attack, Broncos or Panthers?
Really tough. I'm going to go Panthers just because you involve Cam Newton in that. He does a lot of the read option stuff like you talked about. He's such a force as a runner. I'll go with the Panthers slightly.
Well, I do too. I think that's even though the Broncos are trying to be a running team, their idea of being a running team is 0 yards, 1 yard. They went over 100 yards against the Patriots, and then they went back under 100 yards on the next play. Then they went over 100 yards again. They went back, and then they went over 100 yards. Then they got to 100 yards even. I don't know whether you know this. And when Peyton Manning took a kneel down,
he went
to 99. I give a superior edge here because of Cam Newton and because of the read zone offense that is tough. Even though you got on the other side, you got the one cut back offense. I just don't think the Broncos are going to have the running game that the Panthers do. Number two. Oh, did the bell ring?
A couple times.
Is the Panthers pass rush up the middle? This is my question. If you can get Manning off his spot, and his spot is to step up, if you can get him off his spot, and you can't really, he's kind of like Brady, and forget about Brady being hit so much, but he and Brady are pure pocket passers.
Yep.
And the best way to get to them is to come up the middle. You've got a rookie center. He's now played a full year, hadn't missed a snap. Is that going to be the Panthers' solution, you think, is to try and get to Manning through the middle?
I think they can. Kawan Short, great guy up the middle. Star Lotulelei. Do you like how I pronounce that? He's very good. They're really good up the middle.
I think if the Broncos don't figure out a way to keep the rush from coming up the middle, I think the outside's not a problem because Manning will get it off.
Sure.
The only advantage they might have, the Broncos, in combating that is with Manning under center.
Which he doesn't like to do. Yeah.
He hates doing that. But I think he's become more acceptable of it because it has succeeded for him. Von Miller's on the cover of SI. Do you consider this a jinx?
Well, who's the last Bronco on the cover of Sports Illustrated? That's right, it was Brock Osweiler. So maybe there's something to this. I don't know, but boy, it didn't work out so well for Brock.
It was somewhat of a trick question, because I thought, oh, there's Von sacking Tom Brady. And there had been stories, even in Sports Illustrated, about the jinx. What most people don't realize is Von was on the cover from about midway of the country to the west. On the other cover is Cam Newton. So if the jinx is working, it's going to work on both of them. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work on it. So it wasn't, because Sports Illustrated announced out here to all the media, oh, Von Miller's on the cover. Well, they announced throughout New England and down south, well, except in New England. So it's about 50-50. So there is no jinx, as far as I'm concerned. Is Manning feeling the pressure? Do you think he's feeling the? I'm not talking about the pressure from what we just talked about. Is he feeling the pressure of this being his last game?
He's so aware that I think he might. And we've seen him struggle in the playoffs. I think that that's been talked about a lot. I think that there is something to that. I think he will. He's so aware of everything, and I think he's such a thoughtful guy that I think he will be thinking about, this is my last game, this is my chance for my legacy.
You started the program today talking about Cam Newton and the pressure that he might be putting on himself. That I think that we all put pressure on ourselves. We all feel the pressure. When I go to the Super Bowl, and there's no comparison, but when I go to the Super Bowl and I'm writing a column after game, I feel the pressure of it. Absolutely. It's not feeling the pressure, it's how you respond to feeling the pressure. And I sit down in front of a column at the Super Bowl and everywhere else and say, have fun. And I don't get wound up in it. But I feel pressure leading up to it. I'm sure you do.
Yep, absolutely.
Having done it.
All of us do.
Peyton Manning's feeling the pressure. He's sitting in a dark room watching film going, oh, this could be the last time I do this. But then when he gets there, if he can brush it aside, he's been able to do that his whole career, except in some big moments. He didn't even play that well in the game he won in the Super Bowl. And people don't, it was in the rain like this game could be. Four on the Floor is sponsored by Citywide Banks, family-owned, Colorado-focused business bank with 12 locations across Denver and Boulder. I pass one by every day. Pass one by, that doesn't sound right. I do my banking at Citywide Banks. We invite you to do it. But when I pass by, it's not a 50-story building. And I appreciate that, because that sends messages to me that they're sending that money off to New York City where they have that salsa that's not any good. I want somebody that's involved in the community. It looks like a family. It looks like a mom and pop kind of bank that I want to deal with, and I think you will too. Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
I am Citywide Banks.
At Citywide Banks,
we put you first by exceeding your service expectations every day.
Every day.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
For our Players' Choice Pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one, I can work out like one, I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice Pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At the new papajohns.com.
Hi, we're back on The Sports Show. Frank Schwab and Woody Paige. And this is The Sports Show. It's presented by the Denver Post. And this is another one of our favorite segments every day. And it's called Madison's Mailbag, because she is Madison Faulkner. And you're going to update us, first of all, before we go to the mailbag, on how the Twitter reports are going. We ask everybody at the beginning of the week to just tell us if you think the Broncos or the Panthers, because nationally the polls are running 65-35 that the Panthers are going to win. Their numbers going up. It started at 3.5 or 4.5, and now it's up to
almost
6. Yeah. So what do we got in terms of people responding, knowing that a lot of our viewers are in Colorado, but we're all over the country and all over the world. What have we got?
So compared to yesterday, we lost 1%.
What is this we stuff?
Broncos Denver lost 1% of its voters to the Panthers. So it's 54% for Broncos, 46% vote for the Panthers.
What do you think of that? I mean, obviously that's a
that's a
Do you
Denver
pay?
based.
What about the other one? That's 65 to 35% the other way.
I think that's too much. I think the Broncos keep this close. Let's put it this way: I'll take the Broncos in the points. Right? Is that the way we should say it?
Underdogs have won 10 of the last 14.
Something like that. 6 of the last 7 they've covered.
It would have been
yep.
11-3 if the last pass hadn't been intercepted last year. So, all right, what do you got for mailbag?
So our first tweet is from TJS501, and he wants to know, if the Broncos win the Super Bowl, will it really be that big of an upset?
No, I thought the Broncos winning against the Packers was a big upset.
Yeah,
they were
that
like
was an
13 point underdogs in that game. It was almost to the point of being 2 touchdowns. This is not of the Joe Namath ilk. I think the Panthers, the questions I would have, those guys really haven't been on this big stage before. A lot of the Broncos have, even though not as many as maybe people think, since they changed the coaching staff and the offensive line is different. Would you consider it a major upset?
I would consider it a major upset. The main reason being Carolina's record. We're going to look back and say, well, who are the 15-1 teams in NFL history? Oh yeah, the Carolina Panthers team was 15-1. They got upset in the Super Bowl. I think it would be a big upset. The point spread's up there a little bit, not necessarily Super Bowl 32, but I think it would be a big upset.
Okay.
All right, and our next question is from Sportster5280. And they want to know, what are the top 5 most lopsided scores in Super Bowl history?
And how many of these have you been at? That's what I want to know.
Well, I've seen like 42 Super Bowls.
Yeah. So I mean, just covering the Broncos.
55 to 10
yes.
Broncos. I will 39 to 20 Giants. I can go through all the Broncos. But
42-10 Washington.
I'm going to add this story. I've told it, and I'll make it real quick. Mike Shanahan was offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. He was about to get the Broncos job. Saw him and his wife at the commissioner's party. He said to me, we're going to beat the San Diego Chargers worse, because I remember the 55 to 10. He was the offensive coordinator here at the time. And he went out and they really tried to beat the San Diego Chargers, and they got off to a great start.
They were good that day.
It ended up though like
49-26, I think.
Thank you.
Maybe. I hope I'm
because
right
they took
about
out Steve Young and all the people. But I know that Mike still regrets that. So that still turned out to be one of the biggest blowouts and could have been the worst game.
So I'm guessing the answer. Maybe you know this, Madison. 4 of the top 5 are Broncos games. Would that be right? I think so, because 43-8 a couple years ago, 42-10 Washington, 55-10.
Sure, and the Broncos have lost more Super Bowls than anybody else, but they now will have played in their 8th, which ties for most appearances, and winning the 3rd would put them in the top
Not many
6
teams
or
have,
7 if they were to win it. Okay, what else you got?
All right, and then the last tweet we selected for today was from eBarilla 007 or 007. He wants to know, is it time for the Saints to move on from Drew Brees? And do they draft another quarterback in the draft?
Can't draft him anywhere else, I guess. I say no. I think that Drew Brees is such a big part of the New Orleans Saints and what they've done. They're going to have to renegotiate his contract. I think he's got a $30 million cap hit.
Yeah.
That's going to have to change, but Drew Brees is still great. Threw for 4,800 yards this year. I love Drew Brees. I think he's wonderful. And I
thought if Sean Payton was moving on, that Drew Brees...
Maybe they're a package deal, yeah.
But I don't see it happening. But he's got to talk about the number that Payton's went down last year. It would have to be a number that would be somewhere $10-12 million, I would think. I don't think he's going to. I don't think they're going to say we're going to pay you $20-25 million.
Yeah, they're going to have to get creative. They'll have to get creative.
I think that's. But wherever he plays, it's not going to be the number that was coming this year. No. I think teams would. I mean, if I were a team like the Texans, and I think I'm a quarterback away, I would maybe draft a quarterback, but I'd bring in Drew Brees for a couple of years.
By the way, the Saints did draft a guy last year, a guy we know very well, Garrett Grayson.
Out of Colorado. Yeah, I don't know. He's going to be a great quarterback. Madison, thank you very much for the mailbag. We'll see you tomorrow. She's wearing her Baseball Hall of Fame shirt today in honor of the Broncos. Everything she wears is in honor of the Broncos. And when she said we, she means it. She's a Broncos fan, first and foremost. This segment brought to you by Elway Cadillac. John Elway Cadillac at Park Meadows, #1 Cadillac dealership in all of Colorado.
When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see us or click on johnelwaychevrolet.com.
So excited. Frank Schwab is with us, and Mark Kisler is on the phone, live and direct. I assume you're out at whatever they're now calling Dove Valley.
Yeah, what is that place?
I was at Dove Valley. I'm now driving a Lexus, so you can do that commercial if you would like.
Okay. What would give us 3 big points? I want to give this segment to you. 3 big points that jumped out to you today with the Broncos practice.
They don't have their safeties back on the practice field. That's to Gary Kubiak's plan. I think he's very confident about TJ Ward. I think Darian Stewart is going to be a question throughout next week. Peyton Manning was asked again about the NFL's HCH investigation, and he said, as he did approximately a month ago, that he welcomes it, and the story was garbage then, and it's garbage now. Gary Kubiak is also leaning very heavily on his 2 experienced leaders, which are Manning and DeMarcus Ware. He met with them after practice. Manning, however, said that the extent of their leadership will mostly be in regards to setting curfew in California, and if it's up to Manning, it would be 9 p.m., because I think that's about the time Manning goes to bed anyway.
Let me ask the 2 of you 2 quick questions. If Stewart can't go in the Super Bowl, what are they going to do? And 2, in regard to what you just talked about, how are they approaching, do you think, this organization, and I mean Kubiak et al. And John Elway, to make sure that it's not like the way they went to New York and New Jersey?
I think Kubiak has a lot of experience in the Super Bowl, and so he can pick what he liked and what he didn't like. And there is water in the Bay Area. That's why it's the Bay, that the Broncos will not be doing any interviews on a boat. So there's the start right there of how you do things differently.
Yeah, Frank, the 2 issues, take the second one since he addressed that. How do you think the Broncos approach this because of what happened last time?
I think that, I don't know if this was their approach necessarily that ruined them last time when they went to New York, but I do think if you can't just focus a week on a football game, like you could go to the Bay Area next week and live it up, you know? So I think that they'll be fine. I think Peyton Manning will set the tone there. With the first issue, I think TJ Ward's much more important in this game. Darian Stewart's a very good player, but TJ Ward is going to help cover Greg Olsen. He's going to help defend the run. I think his health is very important. Darian Stewart, obviously a great player too, but I think TJ Ward is the guy you really need healthy.
Mark, do you think, we're talking about Shiloh again. We spent a lot of time talking about Shiloh, but really, is he the replacement in the Super Bowl for Damian Stewart?
I think you won't see Shiloh Keogh play as many snaps as he did against New England, but I think you'll see him play key snaps. And they survived New England with Shiloh Keogh in there. I think they're going to have to survive Carolina with Shiloh Keogh making a contribution.
And just to add to why I brought up the thing about approaching the Super Bowl, I thought John Fox screwed that up. First of all, he thought it was a neutral crowd, and he was totally wrong about that. So you might have rethought, because Adam Gase told me that they did talk about a silent count, and that John Fox said, no, we're at the Super Bowl. And so I think that was a factor. I do think it was a factor that they didn't go to the NFL and say, we don't want to be on a boat. I think that was a factor. A lot of players got sick during that week. And number 3, I think it was a factor that they left people like Von Miller and Malik Jackson in Denver for most of the week. They brought the injured players out with the wives. I don't think that produced any kind of camaraderie. So, I think there is a different approach, that it's a much more business approach. We've seen that Pat Bowlen and Jerry Richardson and the Pat Bowlen family are flying all the employees there, and that they're treating them first class like they are the players. So I think Mark, you brought up a great point about Kubiak's been there with the 49ers. He's been there with the Broncos as a player, as an assistant coach. He knows what he's doing. Ron Rivera was once there as an assistant coach and once there as a player. So I don't know whether that, I don't think you worry about how the Panthers are going to approach it, but I think the Broncos are approaching it correctly. Any other points you want to make, Mark, before we see you again tomorrow?
No, I think it was a warm and sunny day. Peyton was in a very good mood, and the early forecast for Super Bowl Sunday is a pretty warm day in the Bay Area, which, when you've got the 4 neck surgeries and the nerve damage, every little bit helps.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you tomorrow.
All righty, man.
Live guest appear. Mark qualifies. Courtesy of Papa John's, the day after every Broncos win, and we're going to remind you, if they win the Super Bowl, you'll get 50% off regular menu prices online by putting in the promo code Broncos. So you better hope they win, because you'll have to pay 100% if they lose when you're buying your Papa John's pizza at the new papajohns.com.
For our Players' Choice Pizzas, we made the NFL players' favorite pizzas. Now you can eat like an NFL player.
If I can eat like a football player, I can talk like one. I can work out like one. I can even dress like one.
Look, you can eat the pizza. You just can't steal my shorts.
Up your game with any large specialty pizza, including Players' Choice Pizzas. Only $12 each.
Better ingredients, better pizza.
Better football.
At the new papajohns.com.
Our final segment, Pick Six, is every day, and today I just thought it'd be interesting, the 6 must-see tourist attractions in San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Clara, the Bay Area. And I'm going to start this out. The submarine at the wharf, and people kind of don't pay attention to that. But if you have any history in your life, you want to go on the submarine and see what it must have felt like, claustrophobic standpoint, for our Navy personnel in World War II in the South Pacific being on a submarine for days and weeks and months. Number 5, the cable cars. You can't go to San Francisco without going up Powell Street and going down to the water. You got to do that. So if you're going, the Golden Gate Bridge, you have to go over the bridge. I'm not talking about looking at it. Everybody can look at it, but go over the Golden Gate Bridge, and what you'll see is they are permanently painting the Golden Gate Bridge. There's 2 guys, and they start at one end and they go to the other end, and they paint it. It's a crew of 2. That's what they do for a living. And when they get to the end, they start all over again. That's got to be a little sad. Well, we're finished up. Well, tomorrow starts back at the
Let's go back to square one.
Number 3, AT&T Park is the Giants ballpark. It's in a great location down by the water, and people talk about Coors Field. It's a lot better. Chinatown, I think you have to go down there and eat and visit the people and get the souvenirs. It's the best Chinatown other than New York City.
Yeah,
and number 1, if you don't go to Alcatraz, you have not been out there. You have to go out. I just watched a movie on Mickey Cohen, and he was one of the guests there along with Al Capone and Birdman of Alcatraz and probably every famous criminal until they moved them all to Mad Max up here in Colorado. And yours, Frank?
Number 6, I have the Yahoo headquarters in Sunnyvale. I actually get a bonus just for plugging the company
I didn't know
there.
That's where it's located.
Yes, Sunnyvale. I will be spending plenty of time in Sunnyvale up there in the.
I doubt the way you put it.
Silicon Valley.
Do they really have tours of it?
No, I don't think so. But hey,
So we
whatever.
could
You
go
go
and look
outside
at
and
the
look. You
building,
take a picture on the outside. It's beautiful. Trust me, Woody. Number 5, the cable cars. Of course. What's more San Francisco than the cable cars? It's great. I had Fisherman's Wharf at number 4, as you did. It's perfect. That's a great place where the Media Hotel is going to be near there. I'm very much looking forward. That's so beautiful. Number 3, the Golden Gate Bridge. I didn't know about the 2 guys who painted it. I'm still not sure if you're serious or not.
Oh, totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
they
crazy.
painted that orange kind of color and sort of a rust kind of color.
I guess I never thought about it. Number 2, I had Alcatraz, of course. Who doesn't want to go see Alcatraz? And number 1, I had AT&T Park because I'm a total baseball ballpark nerd, and that is the best ballpark in baseball. It's beautiful.
That wraps it up for today. You can watch us on WoodyPage.com and DenverPost.com, the clips of the show. And if you like stuff that Frank said, you can follow him at
Yahoo Schwab.
Yeah. And so we'll spend more time with you tomorrow. Thanks and have a great afternoon. Here's Molly Hughes with another news update.
Hello, I'm Molly Hughes in the Denver Post newsroom. Colorado sinks to the bottom of the barrel when it comes to providing food stamps for those who qualify. A new report by Hunger Free Colorado ranks the state 46th in the nation when it comes to getting food to needy people who are eligible. Colorado is one of 13 states that run the programs through each individual county. None of those states rank in the top 25% for efficiency. That's raising concerns about whether states have the ability to properly oversee all the various county-run food stamp programs. For the first time, county-specific data was released in this report. In Denver, it shows that 59% of those who qualify are getting food stamps that they need. The report estimates that Colorado loses almost $700 million in annual grocery sales by not serving all of those who are eligible.